Hello everyone. Today our journey is to the Middle Ages, not to the castles full of knights, but to the smoky kitchens of peasants, where each meal was more a fight against hunger than a moment of pleasure. Behind the image of medieval banquets with golden turkeys and abundant tables, there was a much more bitter reality. Meager dishes, bread, hard as stone, and meat that none of us would have the courage to face today, because, for the poor of the time, taste mattered little. What counted was surviving another day. So before settling in, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel, the best place on YouTube to discover the hidden secrets and horrors of history. Comment there where you're watching from and tell me, would you have the courage to taste one of these medieval dishes? Now, turn off the lights, grab something to nibble, preferably not moldy bread, and let's embark together on this journey through the unglamorous menu of the Middle Ages. You wake up. Cold is the first thing you feel. A cold that seems to enter through your bones as if they were hollow. Your mattress is a straw sack. Yes, literally straw, not that orthopedic mattress. With temperature control that you so desired on Black Friday. The sun has barely risen, but you're already late. There are no alarm clocks in the 13th century, just the rooster's crow, and the certainty that if you don't get up now, you'll go hungry later. Your room? Well, that's a funny concept for the pile of straw where you and your entire family sleep. Beside you, your 3 living children, of the 7 that were born, huddle together like kittens seeking warmth. They don't have modern names like Enzo or Valentina. They're called John, William, or Mary. Names so common that if you shout one of them in the village square, half the people will look at you. The hut where you live would be considered uninhabitable by modern standards. It's a single room made of wood and clay, with a straw roof that needs to be replaced every few years. Your condo didn't approve the project? Too bad. Here there's no approval, just the raw need to have a roof. You get up and feel your backache. It's nothing compared to that pain after spending hours watching TikTok in an inappropriate position. It's a deep pain, result of years bent over the earth, digging, planting, harvesting. You're 30 years old, and your body already seems to be 60. There's no bathroom for your morning hygiene, no sink, no toilet. The concept of privacy to do your business is as strange to you as the concept of Netflix or air fryer would be. You simply go outside, behind the hut, and do what you need to do. There's no toilet paper. You use leaves, moss, or, if you're lucky, a bit of straw. Deodorant? Perfume? Forget it. Body odor is part of life, like breathing or feeling pain. Everyone stinks, so nobody really notices. To wash your face, if you're going to do that today, you use water from the communal well. It's cold and probably contaminated with something that could kill a modern man in a matter of days. But your medieval immune system is used to it. What doesn't kill you gives you chronic diarrhea. It's time to eat something before work. And here, there's no granola with red berries or eggs Benedict. Your breakfast is pottage, a thick and eternal soup that hangs over the fire for days, sometimes weeks. It's like that pot of beans your grandmother never let run out, but much, much worse. Imagine a cauldron where you throw literally anything edible you find. Grains, roots, herbs, leftovers from yesterday's dinner, and if you're very lucky, a tiny piece of meat. It's like a culinary dump turned into food. But it's this or nothing. Your pottage today is particularly sad. It's winter, so it contains mainly water, some barley grains and turnips. It's called the engine of feudalism, because no matter how miserable it is, it gives you enough strength not to die while working for your feudal lord. To complement this gastronomic delight, you have bread, but forget that warm little French bread or the 7-grain whole wheat. This is a dense, dark block made of rye, hard as stone and almost as tasty as one. It's the kind of bread that could be used as a weapon in an emergency. Last week's bread is already so hard that you need to dip it in pottage or wheat beer so you don't break your teeth. It's like trying to eat a brick, but hey, at least it's food. In times of scarcity, you've already eaten bread made with flour mixed with tree bark and ground straw. There's still the invisible danger of ergot, a fungus that contaminates rye and causes hallucinations and convulsions. Yes, your daily bread. Maybe slowly poisoning you or giving you an involuntary bad trip. It's the medieval LSD that nobody asked for. To drink, you have ale, a weak beer with 1 to 3% alcohol. It's not because you're a morning alcoholic. It's because water can kill you. Fermentation kills some of the pathogens, making beer safer than well water. Even your children drink it, since they're babies. The taste of ale is sour and strange. Nothing like the hipster craft beers that cost an arm and a leg. but it's your water, your soda, your juice, and your medicine, all in one. You drink about a gallon a day, approximately 8 pints, as a normal part of your diet. On special days, you might have some milk, but it's not pasteurized or homogenized. It's straight from the cow to your wooden mug. It comes with all the bacteria, dirt, and extra surprises you can imagine. Delicious. The only sweets you know are honey, a rare luxury, and wild berries when it's season. There's no chocolate, no refined sugar, no ice cream. The concept of dessert as you know it simply doesn't exist. Honey is so precious that it's left as inheritance in wills. Now it's time to get dressed. And no, you don't spend 10 minutes choosing clothes in the closet. You basically have one change of clothes for work, and if you're lucky, another slightly less filthy one for special occasions like weddings or public executions, the premium entertainment of the time. Your clothes are made of thick, rough wool or coarse linen. It's as comfortable as wearing sandpaper. It itches, irritates your skin, and after a day of work becomes so soaked with sweat that it could practically walk by itself. It's the complete opposite of your favorite sweatpants. The colors? Forget. That vibrant palette from your Instagram. Your clothes are brown, or dirty beige, or muddy gray. Dyes are expensive and reserved for the rich. You dress essentially in earth color, appropriate, since you spend the day working in it. Underwear. As you know, it doesn't exist. Men wear a kind of linen shorts called brays. Women wear only a long tunic. Panties, boxer briefs, bras. That's stuff for people from the future. Your genitalia is separated from the world by a single layer of rough fabric. Shoes, when you have them, are raw leather boots, uncomfortable and without distinction between left and right foot. It's like walking with 2 boxes tied to your feet. They tear, leak, and when it rains, turn your feet into portable pools of cold water and mud. In winter, you wrap more rags around your body and hope for the best. There's no central heating, no thermal coats, no waterproof boots. Cold enters your bones and stays there until spring. You simply accept that you'll spend months feeling like your fingers might fall off at any moment. Personal hygiene and clothes are vaguely related concepts. You don't wash your clothes frequently, maybe a few times a year. The smell they emit would be considered a crime against humanity nowadays. But here it's just the natural aroma of existence. Your perfume is a mixture of sweat, fire smoke, manure, and the unmistakable smell of manual labor. It's not Chanel No. 5, but at least it scares away some insects. Others are attracted to it, but that's another story. Now, completely prepared, you go out to work. Your office is an open field. Your computer is a hoe. Your boss is a feudal lord who thinks you're literally his property, and your work contract was signed by your ancestors generations ago. You didn't choose this career. You were born into it. Social mobility is a concept as alien as space travel. Your father was a peasant. You are a peasant. Your children will be peasants. It's the most predictable LinkedIn in history. Work starts at sunrise and ends when it's too dark to see. There's no 8-hour workday, no coffee breaks, no happy hour after work. There's only constant, endless work that bends your back and hardens your hands until they look like gnarled branches. The tools you use are rudimentary. Wooden hoes with iron, tips, scythes, rakes. There's no machinery, no shortcuts. Every seed is planted by hand. Every weed is pulled with fingers. Every harvest is done with the sweat of your face and the pain of your back. Your supervisor doesn't send you passive-aggressive emails. He simply yells at you or, if he's in a bad mood, uses a whip. HR doesn't exist to receive your complaints. If you protest, you can be beaten, fined, or, in extreme cases, hanged as an example. Your intellectual property. Any idea you have to improve, planting, harvesting, or anything else automatically belongs to your lord. You don't receive bonuses for innovation. There's no suggestion program, no merit raises. There's only the expectation that you produce more each year. During the day, you stop only for a quick meal. It's more pottage, maybe with a chunk of hard bread. There's no microwave to heat your lunchbox, no delivery, no buffet restaurant. It's the same slop as always, but now with the special flavor of exhaustion. The bathroom, it's the open field. You simply go to a corner, do what you need to do, and return to work. There's no sink to wash hands, no antibacterial soap, no paper towels. It's just you, nature, and the same hands that will soon touch food again. When it rains, you work in the rain. When it snows, you work in the snow. When the sun punishes, you work under the sun. There are no days off for bad weather, no remote. Work, no sick leave. Unless you're literally dying, you're working. And for all this Herculean effort, how much do you earn? Well, technically, nothing. You're not paid in money. You're paid with the right to keep part of what you produce after your Lord takes his, which is always the biggest and best. It's like your boss keeping 70% of your salary and still choosing which projects you take home. After an exhausting day, you return to your home, if we can call it that. Your residence would make a modern real estate agent cry, not from emotion, but from pure terror. Rustic and charming would be criminal euphemisms. Your hut is approximately the size of a small apartment bedroom today. In this minimal space live you, your wife, your children, and possibly some animals during winter. Yes, you share your room with chickens. At least they pay rent with eggs. The walls are made of a wooden structure filled with a mixture of clay, straw, and manure. It's literally a house of shit. The insulation is as efficient as a sieve, and the concept of ceiling is basically non-existent. The floor, packed earth. No flooring, no ceramic, no carpet, no laminate. Just good old earth, which turns to mud when it rains and dust when it's dry. It's like camping, but without the fun part of being able to leave later. Windows are a luxury you can't afford to have. If your hut has any opening besides the door, it's probably just a small hole for fire smoke to escape, partially. Your house is permanently smoky, like a bar before anti-smoking laws. There's no bathroom inside the house, no running water, no electricity, no Netflix. Nighttime entertainment consists of looking at the fire, telling stories you've already heard 1,000 times, or making more children, which explains why large families were so common. Lighting comes from the open fire in the center of the hut, or, if you're exceptionally prosperous, from a tallow candle that smells like burning animal fat. It's romantic, like that expensive restaurant with ambient lighting, but with 100% more soot in your lungs. Your furniture consists of maybe a wooden bench, a rudimentary table, and some straw to sleep on. There's no memory foam mattress, no reclining sofa, no 50-inch TV. Marie Kondo would have an easy job here. There's almost nothing to throw away. The concept of my space doesn't exist. Privacy is a modern luxury. You, your wife, and your children all sleep together in a human pile to share warmth. Any intimate activity happens basically in front of everyone, maybe with the courtesy of waiting for the children to be asleep. And the smell, the smell. Your house has an aromatic bouquet of smoke, decomposing food, human sweat, animal, feces, and humidity. It's an olfactory symphony that would make any modern perfumer retire on the spot. But for you, it's just the smell of home. The day is almost over, and it's time for the main meal. There's no DoorDash, no iFood, no frozen food to heat in the microwave. Tonight's menu is, surprise, more pottage. If you're lucky, maybe today's pottage has something special. A piece of rancid bacon, some extra turnip pieces, or maybe even some meat, if some farm animal died recently, or if there was a successful hunt. Meat, when available, doesn't come in nice, clean cuts like in the modern butcher shop. You eat the parts that nobles reject: feet, head, organs, tongues. Nothing is wasted. The concept of filet mignon would make you laugh or cry. The vegetables in your diet are mainly cabbage, turnip, onion, and peas. Forget tomatoes, potatoes, or corn. They're still in the new world, waiting to be discovered. Your palate is as limited as the entertainment options of the time. Cabbage and onion are fundamental to your survival, but come with socially complicated side effects. Monasteries even banned their consumption on ceremony days due to the inevitable gases they produce. Medieval or modern, some things never change. Peas and beans, when available, are your main source of protein. They're stored dry in clay pots and can last years like that. Medieval accounts warned against eating beans before going to court or mass, again, for the same flatulent reasons. If you live near the sea or rivers, salted herring might be part of your diet. It's the medieval equivalent of a ready-made meal, portable, durable, but with a smell that would make a festival chemical toilet seem like French perfumery. For dessert, you might have an apple in autumn or some wild berries in summer. Sugar? That's for the rich. A medieval joke said, "If I were king, for a day, I'd eat fruits with honey until my belly hurt." Modest dreams by modern standards. Your family eats from the same pot, with wooden spoons or simply with hands. There are no individual plates, No differentiated cutlery, no placemats. The concept of table etiquette is as alien as Wi-Fi. And after dinner, there's no dishwasher. You might rinse the pot and spoons with some water, or simply clean them with a dirty cloth. Modern hygiene would have a heart attack just watching. Believe it or not, even in this seemingly bleak existence, there are moments of joy and socialization. Medieval. Peasants didn't spend all their time working and suffering. They also found ways to have fun, even if they seem primitive by your Netflix and smartphone standards. Religious festivals are the big events of your social calendar. Christmas, Easter, and your village's patron saint day are moments of genuine celebration. On these days, even your feudal lord might distribute extra food or stronger beer. It's like corporate happy hour, but with fewer PowerPoints and more ring dances. Weddings are enormous community events. There's no gift registry, no honeymoon in the Maldives, no professional photographer. Instead, there are dances, music played on rustic instruments, lots of beer, and the tradition of putting the newlyweds to bed. Literally, the entire community escorts the couple to the bridal bed and makes obscene jokes. Seasonal fairs are like itinerant shopping centers. Traveling merchants bring exotic goods, storytellers entertain with fantastic tales, and there are competitions of everything, from archery to who can drink more beer without fainting. It's your YouTube, Amazon, and amusement park, all in one. Games are surprisingly common. You can play primitive versions of bowling, football, with an inflated pig's bladder, or dice made from bones. It's not PlayStation 5, but it serves the same social function, giving you something to do besides thinking about your miserable existence. Local taverns, when they exist, function as community center, social network, and political forum all in one. It's where you hear the news, discuss local problems, and occasionally participate in a fight when strong beer goes to someone's head. It's medieval Twitter, with more real punches and fewer virtual ones. Gossip is an essential pastime. Without television, radio, or internet, gossip is your main source of entertainment. Who's sleeping with whom? Which family is prospering? Who might be a witch? It's the medieval equivalent of reality shows, but with potentially fatal consequences for those involved. Stories are told around the fire. Fairy tales you know in Disney versions started as scary and often sexually explicit stories for adults. Little Red Riding Hood didn't end well in the version you'd hear. It was a warning about sexual predators, not a cute story about a girl and her grandmother. Music is part of daily life. There's no Spotify, but there are work songs to rhythm movements in the fields, lullabies for children, and epic ballads telling stories of heroes, often completely invented. Everyone sings, even if off-key, and yes, there was humor. Medievals loved scatological jokes, puns, and physical humor. They would have loved videos of people falling or taking hits to the private parts. Some things are universal across centuries. Feeling sick? Well, you have some options, and none of them are good. Forget hospitals, 24-hour pharmacies, or health insurance. Medieval medicine is a dangerous mix of superstition, random herbs, and procedures that today would be considered torture. Your local doctor is probably also the barber, dentist, and occasionally the butcher. He didn't attend Harvard Medical School. In fact, he didn't attend any school. He learned the trade by observing another barber surgeon, who probably also didn't know what he was doing. The medical theory of the time is based on the 4 humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. If you're sick, it's because these humors are unbalanced. The solution? Often, bloodletting, literally taking blood from your body to balance the humors. It's like a modern detox, but with 100% more blood loss. Toothache, the treatment is extraction, without anesthesia. The barber surgeon will simply pull out the problematic tooth with large pliers while you're completely conscious. There's no Novocaine, no laughing gas, not even a sip of whiskey most of the time. Broke a bone? Hopefully the local doctor knows how to set fractures. Without x-rays to guide him, he'll simply manipulate the bone back to what seems like the correct position, causing agonizing pain, and then tie wooden splints around it. If it heals crooked, and you limp for the rest of your life, well, at least you're alive. Need surgery? Pray. Seriously. Surgeries are performed without anesthesia, without antiseptics, without knowledge of germs. The surgeon will use the same instruments on multiple patients without washing them. The mortality rate for major surgeries is astronomical. Amputation is often the answer for complex limb injuries. Medicinal herbs are your best bet for minor illnesses. Some actually work. Willow bark contains the precursor to aspirin, for example. But for every useful herb, there are a dozen useless or dangerous treatments, like applying animal feces to open wounds or drinking urine for various diseases. The plague, smallpox, tuberculosis, there are no vaccines, no antibiotics. Epidemics regularly sweep through the population, killing indiscriminately. Your best strategy is to flee to isolated areas if you can, the medieval equivalent of remote work during a pandemic. Childbirth is incredibly dangerous. There are no safe cesareans, no fetal monitoring, no effective pain relief. Many women die giving birth, and many babies don't survive birth or the first year of life. That's why families have so many children. It's a terrible statistical gamble. Hygiene? Practically non-existent by modern standards. The connection between dirt and disease isn't well understood. People rarely take complete baths, maybe a few times a year. The result is a paradise for lice, fleas, and a variety of skin infections. For mental problems, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia existed, but were often interpreted as demonic possession or witchcraft. Treatment could vary from prayers and exorcisms to confinement and physical abuse. There was no therapist to discuss your childhood traumas. Religion isn't just part of your life, it's the framework through which you understand all existence. Imagine a world where Netflix, Instagram, and Google merged into a single entity that controls all information, entertainment, and morals. That's the medieval church for you. Your day is marked by prayers, upon waking, before eating, during work, when lying down. The local church rings bells at regular intervals to remind you to stop and pray. It's like that meditation app that reminds you to breathe, except ignoring it can lead you to eternal hell. The local priest is probably the most educated person you know. He can read. This gives him enormous power, since he's the intermediary between you and the sacred texts. He interprets God's will for you, and you have no way to verify if what he says is correct. Holy days and religious festivals structure your calendar. There are dozens of them throughout the year, offering precious breaks from incessant work. The church inadvertently created the first paid holidays in history, although you spend most of them praying instead of watching series. The church also controls your sex life. Certain positions are sinful. Sex during certain religious periods, like Lent, is forbidden. Sex outside marriage can lead to severe social punishment. It's like having your parents, your therapist, and the police all monitoring your bedroom 24/7. Tithing is mandatory. 10% of everything you produce goes to the church. Considering you already give a huge percentage to your feudal lord, this means you work hard to keep less than half of what you produce. It's like income tax, but with the additional promise of eternal salvation. The concept of hell is vividly real to you. It's not a metaphor or an abstract theological construction. It's a literal place of eternal fire where you'll be tortured forever if you don't follow the rules. This adds a layer of existential anxiety to every small decision in your life. Churches are the most impressive buildings you've ever seen. In a world of clay and wood huts, the stone church, with its colored stained glass and high ceiling, seems from another world, which is exactly the goal. It's the medieval equivalent of the most impressive Hollywood special effect. The church is also your social assistance system. There's no social security, no unemployment insurance, no public health system. If you're desperately poor or sick, monasteries and convents are your only resources for charity. Religion isn't just spiritual, it's your social safety net. And if you question any part of this system, well, depending on the specific time, you might be labeled a heretic, which varies in consequences from social ostracism to, in the most extreme cases, public execution. It's medieval cancellation, but with real fires instead of metaphorical ones. The political structure of your world is absurdly simple in theory and incredibly complex in practice. Basically, you're at the bottom of a social pyramid so rigid that it would make an Indian caste system look like a Scandinavian democracy. At the top is the king, who theoretically received his authority directly from God. No, seriously. The concept is called divine right of kings, and it means that questioning the monarch is basically the same as questioning the Almighty. It's as if your boss had been personally appointed by God and had a letter of recommendation to prove it. Below the king are the great feudal lords, dukes, counts, barons. They swore loyalty to the king, but in practice, Many of them have as much power in their lands as the monarch himself. Think of them as CEOs of large corporations who occasionally pretend to listen to the board of directors. Your immediate feudal lord, probably a knight or small baron, is the direct authority over your life. He owns the land you work, collects taxes on everything you produce, and can summon you to fight in his private wars. It's like a regional manager with power of life and death over his employees. You're a serf, not a slave technically. You have some basic legal rights, but you're tied to the land you work. You can't leave, can't change jobs, can't seek better opportunities. You're literally bound to the soil, like a human tree planted in the estate. Social mobility is almost non-existent. Your grandfather was a peasant, your father was a peasant, you are a peasant, your children will be peasants. Medieval LinkedIn would have only one position for 90% of the population, and nobody would ever update their profile. Justice? It's relative. If you commit a crime against another peasant, there's a rudimentary system of local courts. If you commit a crime against your lord or his family, God help you. If your lord commits a crime against you, well, technically, you can appeal to his superior lord, but good luck with that. Laws aren't applied equally. A noble who kills a peasant might pay a fine. A peasant who kills a noble will be executed in a spectacularly horrible way, probably involving horses pulling his limbs in opposite directions while the crowd applauds. There's no idea of inalienable rights or everyone is equal before the law. Your legal value is directly proportional to your social status. It's as if the current justice system were completely honest about favoring the rich and powerful, without even trying to disguise it. Taxes aren't a complicated annual form you fill out online. They're real people who come to your house and physically take part of your harvest, your animals, or anything of value you own. It's as if the tax lion literally appeared at your door with a sword. And electoral politics? Don't be ridiculous. You don't vote. You have no opinion on who should govern. The idea that you should have a voice in choosing leaders would be seen as absurd as suggesting that cows should have an opinion about who should be the farmer. The only form of political protest available is peasant revolt, when things get so bad that people literally have nothing to lose. These revolts rarely end well for the rebels. It's the medieval equivalent of complaining on Twitter, except instead of trolls attacking you online, it's armed knights beheading you in the public square. Political news travels slowly and often incorrectly. A new king may have assumed the throne weeks before you know it. Wars may be happening 100 kilometers away without you having any idea. Your news feed is basically a game of telephone multiplied by 1,000. And to make it worse, political borders change constantly through wars, marriages, and alliances. You can go to sleep being a subject of the King of France and wake up belonging to the Holy Roman Empire without having moved house. It's as if your apartment changed countries overnight, and nobody told you. Weather isn't just polite conversation. It's a force that determines whether you live or die. Without central heating, air conditioning, technological clothing, or modern construction, you're basically at the mercy of the elements all the time. Winter is your biggest nightmare. It's not that cute season of cozy sweaters, hot chocolate, and Christmas movies. It's a daily struggle for survival. Cold kills directly. Elderly people and children often don't survive the hardest months. Your poorly insulated hut is a wind sieve. The only heat comes from a central fire that fills the house with smoke and represents a constant fire hazard. It's like camping, except it lasts months, and you can't just give up and go to a hotel when it gets too bad. To sleep, you and your entire family huddle together to share body heat, often with animals too. Your bed looks more like a nest of human hamsters than a resting place. Privacy in winter, hilarious. Food in winter is even more monotonous and scarce. You depend on stored foods, grains, root vegetables, salted or smoked meat. Scurvy and other vitamin deficiency diseases are common in late winter when fresh food reserves run out long ago. Spring brings relief from the cold, but also new threats. The thaw means mud, lots of mud. Your rudimentary boots sink, your animals sink, your cartwheels sink. Movement becomes a nightmare, and your house, with an earth floor, transforms into an indoor swamp. Spring rains are a mixed risk. On one hand, you need them for plantings. On the other, too much rain can mean floods and ruined harvests. It's like hoping your high-risk investment pays off, except if it goes wrong, you starve. Summer should be a pleasant time, but brings its own set of challenges. Without refrigeration, food spoils quickly. Without sunscreen, your skin burns and ages prematurely. Without modern insecticides, your house and fields are invaded by pests. And speaking of pests, insects are a constant nightmare. Flies, mosquitoes, lice, fleas, ticks, all carrying diseases and causing discomfort. There are no effective repellents, no window screens, no lice-killing products. You simply coexist with the parasitic fauna. Autumn is a race against time. You need to harvest everything, process food for storage, repair your hut, cut and store enough firewood before winter comes again. It's like preparing for an apocalypse. Except it happens every year, and you know exactly when it's coming. Extreme weather events aren't just inconveniences. They're existential catastrophes. A drought can mean mass starvation. A severe storm can destroy homes and plantations. A particularly harsh winter can decimate entire populations. It's like living in a permanent disaster movie, without fun special effects, and you don't have reliable weather forecasting. There are sayings and observations about natural patterns, but they're approximations at best. Red at night, sailors delight. Red at morning, sailors take warning, is your weather app. It's surprisingly accurate sometimes, but fails when you need it most. The only comfort is that everyone is in the same boat. There's genuine solidarity in rural communities when it comes to facing the elements. Neighbors help neighbors after storms, share resources during difficult winters, and work together to rebuild. It's the human side of climate adversity. Romance and relationships exist, of course, but in ways you'd find strangely practical and devoid of modern sentimentalism. The concept of marrying for love exists, but is often a luxury few can afford, especially peasants. Marriage is mainly an economic and social transaction. Families negotiate, considering factors like land, dowry, labor force, and alliances between clans. It's more like a corporate merger than a romantic comedy ending. You probably marry young, very young by current standards. Women often marry at 16 or even earlier. Men usually wait until 20, when they can already support a family. There's no "let's live together and see how it goes" phase. Consent, especially for women, is a fluid concept at best. Technically, the church requires both parties to consent to marriage, but in practice, family and social pressure makes this more a formality than a genuine choice. Sexual life begins on the wedding night, with the entire community participating in disturbingly close ways. There are rituals where the bride is taken to bed by older women who give advice, while men do the same with the groom. Then, everyone waits outside, making obscene jokes and singing suggestive songs. Sexual privacy is practically non-existent. You, your wife, and your children all sleep in the same space. Any conjugal activity happens literally meters from sleeping children, or at least pretending to sleep. It's like trying to have sex in a college dorm, but the other occupants are your own children. Contraception exists, but is primitive and often ineffective. There are herbs that supposedly prevent pregnancy, coitus interruptus, and periods of abstinence, based on inaccurate understanding of the female cycle. It's like playing reproductive Russian roulette. The church officially condemns any form of contraception, although in practice, local priests often turn a blind eye. Sex, according to official doctrine, should be exclusively for procreation within marriage. It's like having an HR director monitoring your intimate life to ensure you're following the conduct manual. Women have babies constantly. It's common to have 8, 10 or more pregnancies throughout life. With high infant mortality, maybe half survive to adulthood. It's not because people loved large families. It's brutal survival mathematics. Sex outside marriage happens, of course, but with severe consequences, especially for women. Pregnancy outside. Marriage is a social disaster that can lead to ostracism, abandonment, or worse. It's medieval cancellation, but with real life or death consequences. Homosexuality is technically criminalized and condemned by the church, but as in all eras, there are ways to live on the margins of norms. In some places, there's an unofficial "don't ask, don't tell" policy, as long as appearances are maintained. Large medieval cities had surprisingly diverse subcultures. Divorce? Forget it. Marriage is for life, with very rare exceptions that usually only apply to nobles with church connections. You're stuck with your spouse until death do you part, which, considering medieval life expectancy, might not be as long as it sounds. A small consolation. Beauty standards are radically different from current ones. For women, fuller bodies are desirable, indicating health and fertility. For men, being strong enough for physical work is the main attraction. There are no gyms, no fad diets, no plastic surgeries. You're beautiful if you look capable of surviving and reproducing. And what about sex education? It doesn't exist formally. Children learn by observing animals, listening to adult conversations, and eventually through rudimentary instructions on the eve of marriage. It's like learning to drive by being thrown onto a busy road without ever having seen a car before. The lack of digital entertainment doesn't mean medieval life is completely without fun. On the contrary, humans always find ways to entertain themselves, even if they seem primitive by the standards of someone addicted to TikTok. Oral stories are the Netflix of the time. Professional storytellers travel from village to village, bringing epic tales, legends, fables, and gossip from distant places. Some of these narrators are so skilled they can keep an audience hypnotized for hours. It's like watching an entire series at once, but without the option to pause to go to the bathroom. Music is everywhere. There's nothing recorded, of course, so all music is live. Peasants play rustic flutes, drums, bagpipes, and improvised string instruments. Everyone sings, at work, at celebrations, at funerals. It doesn't matter if you're good at it. Participation is what counts. Dances are extremely popular and often complex. Imagine elaborate folk dances where the entire village participates, forming circles, lines, and patterns. It's like a constant flash mob, except everyone already knows the choreographies because they're passed down from generation to generation. Games and sports exist in forms you'd barely recognize. Medieval football is played between entire villages, with hundreds of participants, very few rules, and often resulting in broken bones and occasionally deaths. It's more like a pitched battle than the game you know. Skill competitions are common: archery, throwing agricultural tools, lifting heavy objects. It's the medieval equivalent of CrossFit, except the skills tested are actually useful for daily survival. Board games exist, although they're rudimentary. Chess is known, but mainly among the educated. Simpler games involving dice, made from bones, and wooden pieces are popular. There are even primitive versions of games you'd recognize, like checkers and backgammon. Alcohol is central to medieval entertainment. Beer is safer than water, so everyone drinks constantly, but at celebrations, stronger beer flows abundantly. Getting drunk isn't just socially acceptable, it's practically expected at parties. It's like happy hour, but without the part of pretending. You're there for the company. Seasonal festivals are the big entertainment moments of the year. Solstices, harvests, holy days, all have specific celebrations, often involving masks, costumes, inversion of social roles and behavior that would normally be taboo. It's like Carnival, Halloween, and New Year combined. And there's theater, not always formal, but often improvised. Religious plays enacting biblical stories, rustic comedies about cuckolds, and satirical performances about local authorities. All without special effects, just raw human creativity and, often, extremely obscene humor. Watching public executions is, sinisterly, a popular form of entertainment. Hangings, beheadings, and other cruel punishments attract enormous crowds, with an atmosphere similar to a sporting event. People bring food, socialize, and make the event a family outing. It's like going to the movies, if the movie were indescribably horrible and involved someone's actual death. For children, toys exist, but they're simple: rag dolls, wooden tops, hoops, and sticks. Most children's play simply involves running, hiding, and using imagination. It's like Minecraft, but without the mine or the craft, just children inventing worlds with what they have at hand. Formal education? For a peasant, that's a good one. The idea that all children should receive education is an absurdly modern concept. For you, medieval peasant, education is learning by doing, and what you need to learn is how not to starve to death. There are no public schools, no mandatory education, no college entrance exams. You learn your trade, agriculture, by following your parents to the fields since you can walk. At 5, you're already actively contributing to family work. At 12, you're practically an adult in terms of responsibilities. Reading and writing? What for? These are luxuries reserved for the clergy, nobility, and some wealthy merchants. For a peasant, being literate is not only unnecessary but potentially suspicious. A serf who can read might discover he's being exploited even more than he imagined. The mathematics you know is extremely basic and practical. You can count your herd, calculate approximately how much seed to plant, and maybe, if you're exceptionally talented, make simple trades at market without being completely cheated. The history you know comes exclusively from oral stories, often mixed with legends, myths, and complete nonsense. You might believe your kingdom has existed since the time of Adam and Eve, or that giants built the nearby Roman ruins. There's no Google to check facts. Your understanding of geography is equally limited. You've probably never traveled more than 20 miles from where you were born. The world beyond the horizon is a mystery populated by strange creatures and exotic peoples. Maps? You've never seen one, and if you saw one, you couldn't interpret it. Science as you know it doesn't exist. The universe is explained through religion, superstition, and casual observation. You know certain herbs cure stomach aches because your grandfather told you, not because you understand chemical compounds or randomized clinical trials. Philosophy, literature, advanced mathematics, all of this is as alien to you as smartphones would be. The idea of sitting and thinking about the nature of reality would be seen as unforgivable laziness. Idle time is wasted time when there are fields to plow. The skills you value are intensely practical. How to predict weather by observing animals and plants. How to keep a fire burning in wet conditions. How to deliver a calf or lamb. How to preserve food for winter. This is your PhD in survival. Some exceptionally bright or lucky children might be noticed by a local priest and receive rudimentary instruction, maybe even be sent to a monastery for formal education. This is the medieval equivalent of winning the lottery, a 1 in thousands chance to escape serf life. For girls, education is even more limited and focused on domestic skills: spinning, weaving, cooking, preserving food, caring for children and the sick. It's the most intensive and least optional home economics course in history. Knowledge transmission happens mainly through oral tradition. Songs, rhymes, proverbs, and sayings contain essential information about planting, harvesting, weather, and survival. Read at night, sailor's delight, isn't just a pretty phrase. It's your weather forecast. And here's the cruel irony. You live in a time that will produce some of the greatest cathedrals, universities, and philosophical works in Western history. But, as a peasant, you're as distant from this intellectual world as you are from future space travel. You're contemporary with Thomas Aquinas or Dante, but you've never heard of them, and would die without reading a single word they wrote. Medieval hygiene is a concept that would make any modern person run to the shower just thinking about it. Prepare for a smelly reality where the concept of cleanliness is generously interpretive. Complete baths are rare, very rare. You might take a complete bath a few times a year, usually in spring or on very special occasions like weddings. The idea of daily bathing would be seen as obsessive and potentially dangerous to health. Water is a precious resource that needs to be carried from the well or stream, heated over fire, a process that takes hours, and is needed mainly for cooking and drinking. Using it for something as frivolous as body cleanliness regularly would be considered absurd waste. Washing hands before eating. This concept doesn't exist yet. The connection between germs and diseases is centuries away from being discovered. You go directly from field to table, from stable to plate, from latrines to bread, without any hygiene stops in between. Your main cleaning method is a quick wash with a damp cloth on visible parts of the body. Face, hands, maybe neck. It's like using wet wipes as a complete substitute for baths, but with reusable cloths and water that's probably not very clean to begin with. Brushing teeth, with what? At best, you rub your teeth with a rough cloth, use chewed twigs as rudimentary brushes, or rinse your mouth with urine. Yes, urine, because of ammonia, or herbal mixtures. Toothpaste is an alien concept. The result of this oral hygiene routine is predictable. Rotten, lost, or blackened teeth are the norm, not the exception. Toothache is a constant companion of adult life, and average breath would make a dragon retreat. A complete medieval smile at 40 would be rarer than a unicorn. Deodorant doesn't exist, so sweat stays on body and clothes, accumulating day after day, week after week. Body odor isn't considered offensive, it's simply how humans smell. Everyone stinks, so nobody really notices. Hair is rarely washed, and often infested with lice. Both men and women wear hats or caps, not just for fashion or tradition, but to contain parasite infestation. Constantly scratching your head isn't seen as lack of manners, but as a normal part of human existence. Clothes are washed even less frequently than bodies. Your work tunic might go months without seeing soap and water. The concept of clean clothes every day would be as strange as suggesting you should change skin daily. Soap, when available, is a rough substance made from animal fat and ashes. It cleans, yes, but also irritates skin and has a strong smell of its own. It's not exactly Dove with a quarter moisturizing cream. To mask body odors, in the rare moments when this is considered necessary, you might use aromatic herbs, flowers, or, if you're well off, imported spices. It's medieval perfume, rubbing a mint leaf on your armpits and hoping for the best. And toilets, well, toilet is a generous concept for a hole in the ground or a chamber pot under the bed. Community latrines in cities are nightmare places that stink so much they can make your eyes water from meters away. Privacy is an optional concept. Rivers passing through medieval towns effectively function as open sewers. People dump excrement, animal remains, and all kinds of garbage directly into waterways, the same ones they often draw drinking water from, further downstream. It's an involuntary and extremely dangerous recycling system. Pests like rats, fleas, and cockroaches are constant companions in medieval homes. They're not seen as signs of filth. They're just part of life, as inevitable as sunrise. You share your house with an entire ecosystem of creatures that today would guarantee an immediate visit from exterminators. As you prepare to fall asleep in your straw sack with a half-empty stomach and aching body, it might be hard to imagine that this harsh, smelly, and often miserable existence will lay the foundations for the modern world that will one day come. The cathedrals you help build, carrying stones like a human ant for a project that will take longer than your entire lifetime, will one day be architectural marvels studied and admired. Future tourists will pay small fortunes to visit structures that hands like yours raised centimeter by centimeter. The crop rotation system you follow, alternating which fields are planted to avoid exhausting the soil, will establish agricultural principles that will feed billions. Your rudimentary survival techniques contain wisdom that will one day be refined by modern science. The communities you form, based on interdependence necessary for survival, establish social models that will resist in subtle ways through centuries. When modern people talk about "it takes a village to raise a child," they're invoking the spirit of your world, where the village wasn't a metaphor, but a brutal necessity. The language you speak, rudimentary, regional, full of local expressions, will evolve into modern languages. Words you use every day without thinking will be studied by linguists trying to track the evolution of human speech. The stories you tell around the fire, the scary fairy tales that warn children about real and imaginary dangers, will be collected, sanitized, and transformed into Disney movies. Human narrative has deep roots in the mud of your village. The tools you use daily, refined by generations of trial and error, establish mechanical principles that will one day lead to complex machines. There's more ingenuity in a simple, well-designed, medieval plow than most modern people will ever realize. Your ability to survive with almost nothing, to make use of every part of an animal, to preserve food without refrigeration, to build without heavy machinery, all these skills represent a peak of human ingenuity that has been partially lost in modern abundance. The struggles for rights that will begin in your time, peasant revolts, the first guilds, dissident religious movements, will plant seeds that will bloom into revolutions and eventually into modern democracies. Ideas of justice, equality, and human rights have their roots in the deepest injustices of your time, and perhaps most impressive, your resilience, the ability to find moments of joy in a life that would be unbearable by modern standards. The dances, after successful harvests, the songs sung during work, the celebrations of births and weddings, the obscene jokes shared to make the burden lighter. Ironically, many modern humans, surrounded by comforts you couldn't even imagine, are less skilled at finding contentment than you. Amid unprecedented abundance, they often lose the ability to appreciate small joys that for you are precious treasures. Your life is hard, often brutal, and almost always uncomfortable by modern standards. You work more, suffer more, and have less security than almost anyone in the developed world today. And yet, you're a crucial link in the human chain, enduring what must be endured so that something better can one day exist. So, as you fall asleep in your straw sack, with your stomach growling and teeth aching, Know that your distant descendants will look at your time with a mixture of horror and fascination, gratitude and relief. They'll write books, make movies, and create games trying to capture the essence of your existence, often romanticizing it, but occasionally recognizing the true strength that was needed to live as you lived. You're not just a medieval peasant. You're the foundation upon which modernity will be built. And if you could see what will come, perhaps the most surprising thing would be realizing that, even with all technology and comfort, future humans will still struggle with the same fundamental questions as you: how to find meaning, how to build community, how to face the unknown, and how to make life worthwhile, even when it's difficult. In a world you can't imagine, your descendants will visit museums to see how you lived and feel a strange connection, as if something in their DNA recognized the tools your hands held. And perhaps for a moment, they'll wonder if, with all their comfort and technology, they lost something you had, a direct connection to life in its rawest and most real form. If you enjoyed this trip through the less digestible side of history, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell, because we still have many stories from the past to serve at your table, some delicious, others not so much.